Can India really catch up with the United States, Taiwan, and China in the global semiconductor race? The short answer is not overnight. But for the first time in decades, India is no longer just talking about chips, it is building them. In October, Kaynes Semicon, a small electronics manufacturer in Gujarat, shipped India's first batch of domestically assembled chip modules to a client in California. The project, backed by Japanese and Malaysian partners, was funded under Prime Minister Modi's $10 billion semiconductor incentive program launched in 2021. India's biggest bet, however, is still under construction. An $11 billion semiconductor foundry in Gujarat, led by Tata Group and Taiwan's Power Chip Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporation. This aims to produce mature chips between 28 and 110 nanometers. India has already joined as a potential customer, and Tata Electronics signed an agreement with Intel in December to explore manufacturing and packaging at upcoming Indian facilities. Stephen Izell, Vice President for Global Innovation Policy at the Information Technology and Innovation Foundation in Washington, says India is at a turning point. He notes that while India has long excelled in chip design, translating that strength into manufacturing remains a challenge. But Izell says the last 2 to 3 years have seen more progress than the previous decade combined. This is where India is doing well. Its focus on mature chips is strategic. These chips power cars, consumer electronics, and industrial equipment and make up the bulk of global demand. India's chip imports rose 36% in 2024 to nearly $24 billion, and Izell argues even producing 28 nanometer chips domestically improves India's trade balance and industrial competitiveness. India is also betting heavily on assembly, testing and packaging or ATP, which is easier to enter than advanced fabrication. Ashok Chandak, President of the India Electronics and Semiconductor Association, says ATP requires lower investment and involves less risk. He adds that the technology and expertise needed for these facilities are already widely available across the world. But challenges remain. Several projects, including Micron's $2.7 billion facility and Tata's Assam plant, are behind schedule. And India still trails far behind global leaders in incentives. China has committed $48 billion to semiconductors, while the US CHIPS Act sets aside $53 billion. Izell is blunt about what comes next. He says if India wants to compete at the cutting edge of chip making, foreign partnerships will be essential, adding that it is unrealistic to expect domestic firms to reach 7 or 3 nanometer technology anytime soon. There's also concern over chip design. Alpa Sood, legal director at Marvell Technology India, warns that limiting incentives to domestic firms could backfire. She says India needs incentive structures comparable to China and Malaysia to avoid losing the design advantage it has built over the years. India is not yet a chip superpower, but with political will, targeted partnerships, and smarter incentives, it is finally in the race. With Jyoti Shukla, Bureau Report, India Today Global.